Have you ever looked at a field of crops and wondered how we can possibly predict the harvest months before it's ready? Well, today, we're going to do just that. We're going to think like crop physiologists and build a plant's growth model right from the ground up, starting with the absolute basics. Let's get into it. I mean, it sounds kind of crazy, right? How can a handful of equations predict something as massive and complex as a field of corn or wheat? That is a big question we're going to tackle. And the way we do it is by breaking a plant down into its most fundamental parts to build a model that's, you'll see, surprisingly powerful. So, here's our game plan. We're going to start super small, right down at the level of the plant's tiny biological engine. Then we'll figure out what's actually limiting its performance, the bottleneck. From there, we'll zoom out and scale this up to the whole plant. And finally, we'll do the accounting to see if it made a profit over a full day.
Okay, so first things first, every plant has an engine. And that engine is photosynthesis. It's the magical process that turns sunlight, water, and CO2 into food. But just like the engine in your car, its performance isn't always the same. It's hugely affected by the environment. And the very first thing we have to think about is temperature.
You see, before a plant can even worry about sunlight or CO2, the little pieces of machinery that make it all happen, the enzymes, they have to be working at the right speed. Think of them like the pistons in the engine. The Arrhenius equation helps us model how their speed changes when things get hotter or colder. It's really our foundation.
So let's say our engine is at the perfect operating temperature. What actually determines its horsepower? Well, it turns out there are two major things that can slow it down. It's just like a factory assembly line, right? The whole factory can only move as fast as its slowest worker. So what are those two bottlenecks for a plant?
All right. Bottleneck number one is this super important enzyme called Rubisco. Its entire job is to reach out and grab carbon dioxide molecules from the air. The speed limit for that job is what we call the Rubisco-limited rate, or AC. You can basically think of this as the plant's internal processing power. How fast can it physically handle the raw material, the CO2? And here is how we actually model that limit. Now, don't let the letters scare you. This equation is just telling a story. It's balancing the absolute top speed of that enzyme, which is Vmax, against how much CO2 is actually available inside the leaf. It gives us the plant's potential speed if the only thing holding it back is its own internal machinery. The second bottleneck is a lot easier to wrap your head around. It's the energy supply. Simple as that. A plant can have the best machinery in the world, but without sunlight to power it all, nothing's going to happen. We call this the light-limited rate, or AJ. It's all about the fuel coming in from the sun. And yep, we can model this with an equation too. The really key part here is that letter J. It stands for the rate of electron transport, which is basically a direct measurement of how much light the leaf is capturing. So this whole formula is just calculating the plant's speed when the only thing holding it back is the amount of solar power it's getting. So here we are. We have two potential speed limits. On one hand, you've got the plant's internal processing capacity, AC. On the other hand, you've got its available energy from the sun, AJ. Now here's the crucial part. At any single moment, the plant is limited by one of these. It can never, ever go faster than its slowest part. That's the core logic of this whole model. So how do we figure out the actual speed? Easy. We just take the minimum of those two bottlenecks. Whichever one is smaller, that's our speed. That gives us our gross production. But the plant is also alive. It's breathing, a process called respiration, and that costs energy. So we have to subtract that operating cost to get the true net gain. And would you look at that? This beautiful, simple equation brings it all together. The net rate, A net, is simply the minimum of our two bottlenecks, minus that respiration cost, RD. That little min function is the key to the whole thing. It mathematically finds the real-world bottleneck for us. And just like that, we've modeled photosynthesis for a single spot on a leaf. Awesome. We have a working model for one tiny point on one leaf. But of course, plants are these big, complex 3D things. So the next big question is, how in the world do we scale this up to an entire canopy of leaves? Well, scaling up introduces a huge problem. Shade. The leaves at the top of the plant get tons of sun, but they block the light from reaching the leaves down below. And the more leaves a plant has, what scientists call the leaf area index, or LAI, the worse this self-shading problem gets. So we can't just multiply our single leaf model. We have to be a little more clever.
So how do crop modelers get around this? They use this brilliant classic strategy: divide and conquer. Instead of trying to model every single leaf, which would be impossible, they just split the entire canopy into two groups: the leaves getting direct sunlight and the leaves stuck in the shade. It's a fantastic simplification. And the math for this is actually pretty straightforward. We just run our model for the sunlit leaves, then we run it again for the shaded leaves, and we add the two results together. Boom. Just like that, our model has scaled from a single point on a leaf to the entire plant.
Okay, so now we have the rate of production for the whole plant at one specific moment in time. But to know if that plant is actually growing, we need to look at its profit and loss over a full 24-hour cycle. It's time to create a daily carbon budget.
Here's our final checklist. First, we have to change our units from this abstract scientific rate into something we can actually measure, like grams of carbon. Then, we add up all the carbon the plant gained during the day. But we're not done. We also have to subtract all the expenses it racked up during the night. Think of this equation as our currency converter. It takes our rate, A net, which is in these tiny units per second, and turns it into something tangible: grams of carbon per hour. It's a simple but absolutely essential step to give our model some real-world weight.
And this is the key question, isn't it? We've carefully calculated all the income the plant makes during the day while the sun is shining. But just like any business, a plant has overhead costs. And those costs don't just stop when the lights go out.
All through the night, the plant keeps on breathing or respiring. It has to burn some of the sugar it made during the day just to stay alive, and in the process, it releases CO2. This is called dark respiration, and it's a major expense on our daily budget sheet. It's the final piece of our puzzle.
Okay, this is it. We have all the components, we have the total amount of carbon the plant gained during the day, and we know how to calculate the total carbon it lost during the night. It is time to put it all together and get our final answer.
And there you have it. The total daily gain is just the daytime income minus the nighttime expenses. If this number is positive, congratulations, the plant grew that day. If it's negative, it lost ground. This simple balance sheet is what drives pretty much all life and growth on our planet. So, we did it. We built a model from a single enzyme all the way up to a daily budget. Now, just take a second and imagine applying that same logic, not just to one plant, but to every field, every forest, every single day, all across the globe. This is how scientists predict our global food supply. It's how they understand the planet's carbon cycle and forecast the effects of climate change. And it all starts with the beautiful, elegant math of a single leaf.